you join me in your Bibles, Galatians chapter 3. Galatians chapter 3. This evening we'll be in verses 19 through 22. Now, if you've ever spent much time with a child, especially around the ages of maybe 3 to 6 years old, you learn pretty quickly that you need to brush up on a few things. First, you better be quick on the draw with synonyms to define words. You're expected to be a walking thesaurus. Second, all those things you learned in school that you never thought you would need to remember, if for no other reason, you need to know them when you enter the daily game of 15,000 questions. And third, if you're going to have rules, and you must, they need to be very precise. And you must anticipate all of the possible ways around them. Most of the time, we take things for granted as to how we know what we know. We forget that everything we know, we had to learn. It's not until a child asks you how you know that 1 + 1 = 2 that you remember it's something that you had to learn. And then when they start reading, a whole new wave of questions, as they look at books and magazines and storefronts and street signs. One of my favorites was, "Daddy, what does tidal pond mean?" Good luck explaining that to a 5-year-old in a way that she can understand. But it's the intrigue. It's the wonder, it's the natural excitement for learning new things and having a greater grasp on the world that I think we as Christians need to develop more and more of in our lives as we enter into studying and learning the Scriptures. Like trying to answer the questions of a young child, we should come to the Bible and ask these kinds of questions. Then we should try to develop, how is it that I would respond to this question? I assume that I already know many things, but have I really thought about it? At least in a substantial way. For example, we're going to be looking at one of those questions in our text this evening. What's with the law? What is it? Why is it? What purpose does it serve? And then important questions should follow. Does the household rule to not run with scissors in your hand, does that carry the same weight and consequence as a rule to not burn down your neighbor's house? Now, how many times every day does someone tell you what to do? Probably far more than you realize. Traffic laws, caution tape at a crime scene, regulations about the temperature at which a restaurant must wash their dishes, rules about how your children are educated, whether or not you can sleep in a tent on the side of the road. And how often do you stop yourself from doing what you want to do because the action is prohibited or wrong? Now, let's be honest. Most of us probably don't feel a tremendous amount of guilt when we're trying to simply survive on the roads of South Florida when it comes to speeding a little bit down the road. But we keep ourselves from doing it too excessively because of the consequences associated with it. After all, we don't want Carmen Leon to get too much business from church members. Now, as Christians, hopefully, we consider that God has called us to submit ourselves to authority. But a lot of times our consciences only go so far as not wanting to deal with fines or jail time. And who gets to make those rules? Where do they come from? Should the punishment fit the crime, or does all justice look the same? So you see, perhaps we haven't asked as many questions as we thought we have, or understood it as well as we thought we understood it, because we haven't been forced to sit down with a 5-year-old's inquisitive mind and ask. But this is the question that Paul is seeking to answer for us in the text we're looking at this evening, because it relates to what we looked at last time and where Paul is headed in the chapters that will come ahead. Now remember, in this letter, the Apostle Paul is dealing with the controversy related to the false teaching of a group called the Judaizers. And they wish to combine the Mosaic law with the gospel.